morning and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damola Okushaki. On Today in the News, we read and analyze the front pages on the first stories on the newspapers across Nigeria. And of course, this morning I'll be starting with the front page of Vanguard. And on the front page, we have a revised 2020 budget still in trouble despite rising oil prices. High production cost, OPEC cut erode Nigerians' advantage. Oil price now 32% above benchmark. Senators say no further adjustments. And you can see more of that inside the Vanguard newspaper. Also on the front page, we have a Buhari orders investigation. That's ASO ROCK SHOOTING, says he's not in danger of COVID-19. It shows there's no one in charge saying, Afenifere is saying this. And the spokesman is also saying Aisha just protecting her husband. You can see more of that on page 7. On page 12, we have cut restraints police, Dangote Industries from BUA operations. On page 8, we have a Black Saturday, Boko Haram ISWAP attacks leave 60 dead in Borno. Man excited as Dangote exports liquor abroad, boost federal government's revenue drive. On page 39, we have a COVID-19, doctors, parents, teachers, caution federal government against opening of schools. Insecurity in North, presidency, Northern elders at war. You can see more of that on page 9. And on page 5, we have a Edo rally with Buhari will decide my next move. Obaseki is saying this. APC governor seeks soft landing for him. Factions calls for Obaseki, Ojezua's expulsion. And that is all we have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And from there, we move straight to the Punch. On the front page of the Punch, we have Aisha's ADC, escort commander, riot corps may face panel this week. And the riders, security breach to top Inspector General Management Team's meeting today. DSS operatives attached to Buhari's nephew fired shots. This is coming from Sussex, and you can see more of that on page 2. Now moving to the stories below the nameplates, we have Buhari, others condole with Ighodalo as wife dies. You can see more of that on page 7. On page 11, we have ex-governor Ahmed. She owned 1.8 billion naira with road contracts. The speaker is saying this. On page 41, we have a Nigerian crosses 16,000 mark. Gombe tops with 73 COVID-19 cases. Lagos woman allegedly assaulted by expatriate lovers cries for help. With APC tickets on Ondo election, a walkover. You can see more of this on page 11. And on the stories above the nameplates, we have APC governors to meet Buhari. Obaseki consults Wike, Akwa Ibom governor. You can see more of this on page 2. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch, we have soldiers who rescued kidnapped kingpin Wadume attacked us with machine gun. And this is coming from policemen. And from the front page of the Punch, we move straight to This Day. And on the front page of This Day newspaper, we have Buhari orders probe into State House shooting. And the writers, President not in arm's way from incident on COVID-19, says presidency. Confirms First Lady security aides breached ASO ROCK regulations. And you can see more of that on the front page of This Day newspaper, and it continues on page 9. And on page 5, we have a presidency. Northern elders trade accusations over insecurity. And from the front page of This Day, we move straight to The Nation. And on the front page of The Nation, we have Edo, PDP in tight corner over Obaseki's ticket bid. Governor visits Wike, Udon. The PDP aspirant who won't step down for him. And the statement here says, step down for who and why? So step down for what? Are we in the jungle? Are there no rules and regulations guiding a party in democracy? Forget it, I'm on a campaign tour. You can see more of that story on the page 6. And inside The Nation newspaper, we have Nigerians need a decentralized response system, says ANAP Foundation think tank. ICT firm lift Ekiti with Porter. 26 Nasarawa health workers die. Nigeria spends 1.2 billion naira on activities. 58 patients discharged in Lagos, Kwara. You can see more of this on pages 3 and 7. And on page 10, we have Nigeria loses 1.5 trillion naira shipping business. And on the story below, on page 25, we have Adeboye to obey protocol as churches brace for reopening. Catholic Church gets set. Lagos mosques to remain shut. And you can see more of that on page 25. And on the story above the nameplate, we have Ondo Deputy Governor heads for PDP. We won't step down for him. And you can see more of that on page 27. And lastly, on the front page of the Nation, we have Mali under attack for Abuja performance. Federal Capital Territory closes down Jabi Mall, and that can be found on page 5. And that is all we have on the paper review for this morning. Of course, I have a guest with me in the studio, and he will be analyzing some of these stories with us, but that will be right after the break. And while we're on the break, you can always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen, and you can always visit our website for the stories we're reporting on this program, and that's www.vanguardngr.com. Also create a watch party so that your friends also can stay updated. Stay with us, we'll be back after the break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. Here we read and analyze the front pages of the stories on the newspapers across Nigeria. I'm Jamiola Ogunshaki. And before the break, we've reviewed some of the front pages of the papers like the Vanguard newspaper, the Punch, the Nation, and This Day newspaper. And right now we'll be going straight to the analysis. And I have a guest with me in the studio who will be doing this with me. And he is in the person of Mr. Aliu Mohammed, the CEO of Magnate Communications. You're welcome, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. With the weather this morning, I hope it wasn't difficult for you to get here.
Not much. Most of the roads were flooded. I hope it will have improved right now.
Okay, sir. Okay, so without much wasting much time, let's go to the front page on the Vanguard newspaper. We have a revised 2020 budget in trouble despite rising oil prices. You know, a lot of people have been saying that before those oil prices are still rising. You know, a lot of people were saying that maybe once the oil prices start rising, that Nigeria's budget, will be okay, and also Nigerian economy will rise. But with this saying that the budget is still in trouble, what's your take on it?
Well, I am not surprised because apart from the fall in the oil prices, we have a crisis on our hand, and that is the pandemic called COVID-19, which is affecting all countries of the world. Nigeria is not excluded. So if you look at it, the nation has not been fully opened since the lockdown.
Yes.
We still have partial operation. Apart from the income from oil, we also get money from other sources. The only arm of government that is working fully now is the ports. That is the only place where government is generating income. The civil service is still locked down. The economy is, the private sector too, locked down. So this should be expected. I'm not surprised that we are having this problem, but I only hope that within a few months it will pick up.
Okay. Okay. Now, away from that, going to what happened in the ASO ROCK, the shooting. Finally, first, let me ask you, what's your opinion on that? What do you think? It is
unfortunate. Let me tell you straight, there is a lot of power play going on there. But if you look at this incident on the surface, I don't think the shooting is necessary. And again, if you look at it from the point of view that the chief of staff to the president died as a result of COVID-19,
yes,
you wouldn't blame the first lady for trying to protect the husband. From what we have read, a young man, Sabiu Yusuf, popularly called Tunde, came to Lagos to see the family because the wife just gave birth. He returned to Abuja and he was under pressure to self-isolate, and he refused. I think the first lady is right on this issue because you have to consider where she's coming from. A very top aide of the villa died from COVID-19.
But do you think the first lady needed to, personally have, she needed to personally use her personal aids and then to carry on the side? Because that is what people are faulting her for, that she shouldn't have gone there, to meet him personally. According to reports. Something
must have led to that. And from what we have read, that he asked the young man to self-isolate, but he refused, claiming that others who traveled to Lagos were not asked to do so. And he said the president told him personally that it was not necessary for him to self-isolate. But the first lady insisted that he must do it. And this led to a scuffle and the shooting. But if you ask me, the shooting is absolutely unnecessary. You don't have to shoot a man who was not armed, as at the time this crisis snowballed into this argument snowballed into a crisis. I don't think the shooting was necessary.
But do you think, the shooting, do you think what happened was like a total breach of the security system?
It is a breach of it, because if there is any shooting within the precinct of where the president lives, the general interpretation would be that the president is under threat. The president's life is under threat. That will be the general view. People will believe that such an issue should have been handled in a better manner.
But do you, like Afenifere and some other experts, say that the security there that needs to be questioned because that really puts the country in a bad light?
No, I don't think so. You see, Afenifere is a pressure group,
yes,
and they are political. And don't forget that we have two factions of Afenifere. A faction that gave that opinion has never been in support of the president. They don't see anything good in the president. So I don't think it has affected the nation's image. There could be security breaches anywhere. It happens everywhere. So why does it amount to a situation where the country's image is now rubbished or threatened? I don't think so. I don't agree with your opinion.
Okay, so away from that, now let's go to Edo election. This Edo election, some things really happened last week when we were looking at the primaries and looking at how it's going to come out. But Obaseki was actually disqualified based on his NYSC certificate and some other things, and he was described. Now it is said that he's going to meet the president, to see what is going to come out, and also the PDP have said that their doors are open for you. What do you think about this whole situation?
Personally, I think Obaseki should have been allowed to participate in the primaries.
No, but according to this, there are some things that disqualify him.
But the man is governor. Somebody screened his certificate in 2015 or 2016 when he was going to contest, and they cleared him based on the certificates that were presented. Why is it that it is now that there is a question mark or there are question marks on the certificates? It is all politics. But you see, I believe that it's my personal opinion. I'm not supporting any of the two sides. I believe that he should have been allowed to take part in the primaries and then mobilize against him if you don't want him. It's a democratic process, for God's sake. It's a democratic process. So you don't have to disqualify him based on the same certificates that he gave to the party in 2016 when he was going to be governor. It's all politics. And I think politics should be well played in a situation that people will see you as being democratic in all your actions and activities.
So now, let me just ask you based on it, what people have actually been asking on social media. A lot of people are saying, do you think Governor Obaseki will still remain in APC or will he come to PDP?
You see, the man wants to be governor again. And in Nigeria, we've had situations.
So there's every possibility of
him defecting.
Following his second term ambition.
Yes, he will want to follow it to the letter and ensure that he has put in his best until it is obvious, it becomes obvious that he cannot be governor again. And he will want to go to any party, PDP or any other available party to use that platform to contest. It is normal. You know, even the visit to the president doesn't have the powers to reverse whatever decision has been taken by the National Working Committee of the party. President is just there as the national leader of the party. He's also a member of the party. He's subject to the decisions of the National Working Committee of the party. So, well, I don't see anything coming out of his visit to the president. That is me. But frankly speaking, I think they should have allowed him to contest the primaries, then mobilize against him if you don't want him. Simple.
Now, let's go to security. You know, now insecurity issues now. Over the weekend on Saturday, Boko Haram and ISWAP attacked Borno and resulted in over 60 people who died because of that attack. Now, we've had COVID-19 in Nigeria, and the government, everybody have been focusing on COVID-19. Do you think now, when it comes to these insecurity issues, that the government are really overlooked at the insecurity issues in Nigeria and now focused on COVID-19? Because that is what people are saying.
No. They've not overlooked the security system. Don't forget that the Chief of Army Staff claimed to have relocated to the north.
Okay.
And he said that he won't come back to Abuja until the Boko Haram and ISWAP groups are decimated. I mean, that was his language. But unfortunately, we are seeing the reverse. It is disturbing, it is heartbreaking, it is an embarrassment to the country that at a time the Chief of Army Staff said that he was relocating to the northeast, and he will not return to Abuja until the Boko Haram and ISWAP groups are wiped out. The man has gone back to the president. I don't know what he told the president, but unfortunately we are not seeing much. The army must be commended. And again, don't forget that they are not fighting a conventional war. But I think by now, after over 7-8 years, the army is supposed to have gotten its acts together to a point that they will rely on security reports, good security reports, reliable security reports to decimate the warring Boko Haram and ISWAP. I don't know if you know what happened in Cameroon. Is it Cameroon or one of the African countries where the president led the troops? They successfully removed ISWAP members and Boko Haram members from their country. And they said they were expecting that Nigerian troops will come to maintain peace in the areas that have been taken over by the foreign troops.
Yes.
But I expect our troops to truly match up that attack and completely decimate these fighters and let us have some peace. I don't know what happened. If they need more equipment, they should let the government know. I mean, we have very strong fighter jets that can be used. I don't know. We purchased a few of that. I don't know whether those jets are being put to use or not. So the army should brace up. A lot of people are calling for the removal of the Chief of Army Staff. If that is going to be the solution, so let it be.
Okay, now see, the Nigerian Elders Forum, that's NEF, Northern Elders Forum.
Yes.
They allege that the President Buhari and the Northern governors have lost control in protecting the people in the region. That they've lost control in protecting the people in the Northern region. What do you think about this thing?
Let me give you the history of the Northern Elders Forum. The Northern Elders Forum has broken into two factions, just like the Afenifere in the Yoruba land.
Yes.
And the faction led by Ango Abdullahi is totally against the president. That faction did not want the president to contest for a second term, and they made it clear from the onset that the president must not contest, that he has disappointed the North, because they believe that he has not done so well. So what we are hearing about them now, about that faction, is a follow-up to their earlier criticism of the president.
So you think that the person's reaction to them, because he described his Northern Elders Forum as a mere irritant and a featherweight group without credible membership. So do you think
that's from the president?
That's from the president.
Yes, because the faction, the Northern Elders Forum is factionalized, and they believe that the other faction is being sponsored. This Ango Abdullahi's faction is being sponsored by a politician. I don't want to mention names, and that is why they are calling that faction a featherweight group.
But coming to the circumstance where they are moving this to the insecurities, these insecurities issues have not really been addressed in the country. So that is why these people are also coming out to say this. But you are saying that they are directing it, that they were against the president, coming out for it.
Well, the security issue is a major problem. Like I said, after the Civil War, we've not really fought any war until the Boko Haram crisis. Like I told you earlier, I expect that the Nigerian army or the armed forces by now should be able to decimate these groups. Because if you sit down and analyze it, they've had meetings with the president several times and promising that within 3 months Boko Haram will be wiped out. But here we are, we still have the problem on our hands. I think we should go back to the drawing boards and to the drawing board and ensure that we come out with good strategies and tactics to completely decimate the Boko Haram. They are human beings, you understand?
Yes.
And they get information from the armed forces itself. Once the armed forces move away from an area, they go there to kill people. So who is giving them information? So these are the things. And I also read that there are helicopters coming in to supply arms. For God's sake, Nigeria is an independent nation with authority over its airspace. We should have the network to know the helicopters coming in to the country to give them arms. Where are these helicopters coming from? You understand? We should have information and all that and find a way of checking these security breaches.
But do you think Nigeria have the resources?
We have everything. We have everything. I'm shocked that by today we are still talking about Boko Haram. With all the equipment that this present government has purchased to fight Boko Haram, I'm surprised that we are still talking about attacks. By now, we expect the armed forces to have completely erased the tracks of Boko Haram from Nigeria.
Now, okay, let's go to COVID-19 updates. Now, schools, we've been talking about it since for some time now. That schools are also now pressuring the government, federal government, to open schools, to reopen schools, and say that they want the students back. And we also have the NUT, the Nigerian Union of Teachers. They were saying that the health of the students actually comes first, and also the Medical Association of Nigeria are also saying that the health of the children comes first, and they don't want children. Children are very, very prone to this COVID-19 disease. So what's your take on this? Because we have the proprietors of the school proprietors and proprietors, they've submitted application and submitted a form that the schools should be reopened. So what's your opinion on
You
this?
see,
Do you think the schools should be reopened?
No. There is a country, I can't remember the name of the country now, they opened the schools and locked them down because they discovered that as soon as the schools were opened, the figures went up. Number one, if you open the schools, you can't tell what is happening in the families of each of these children, whether their parents are infected or not, whether they are coming from a home that have this COVID-19 infection. Children will normally mix with themselves in school. It is dangerous to open the schools now until we have figures that are encouraging. As at today, the figures are still going up. So until the figures drop significantly, I don't think the schools should reopen.
But we have some parents also saying that they want their students to go back to school because, given the example of churches or religious, the religious activities, they are now back, and we have many states that say going to school. Although the federal government and the state government said that people from 55 years and above can go to school, and children from churches, yes. And people from 15 years below, they can't go to churches. And we know parents, when they are going to churches, definitely they can't leave their children at home. So what's your opinion on this?
Now, you see, the issue of religion is very sensitive in Nigeria. I think government is just trying to due to a lot of pressure from these religious organizations, and the government is just trying to satisfy them. But if you look at some pastors, reasonable ones have said, I'm not going to open my church because of money. I'm not going to open my church and allow people to be infected with COVID-19. Today, Bakare said it. Some pastors are still advocating that churches should not be opened. The chief imam of Lagos said it yesterday that he can, once he's standing up and praying, he cannot guarantee the number of people standing behind him, and that the mosques should remain closed. So if you have such sensible suggestions coming from both churches and mosques, why are we in a hurry to open the schools? Because you cannot guarantee that the children coming from different homes, their parents don't have COVID-19.
Even with safety guidelines.
Yes, forget about safety guidelines. You cannot guarantee that the children will wash their hands 10 times in a day. They don't have that kind of prompting to continue to wash their hands, and adults can do that. And adults can use the gel sanitizer, like 5-10 times a day. The children don't have the sense to do that. So there will be a lot of infection if the schools are open. You see, the problem with us in Nigeria, the proprietors of secondary schools, primary schools, they want money. But in the absence of children going to school, they have arranged online classes. My children are taking part. Some of these schools are asking us to pay.
But do you think this online class is actually effective?
It is effective. It is effective. Yesterday, I printed out more than 10 pages of material sent from my son's school. And this morning is going to be online at 10 a.m. and 12 in the afternoon.
Now we are talking about children in the metropolis. What of the children in the rural areas that don't have the access to this?
Well, it is unfortunate they will be affected because a lot of them don't have access to internet. That is the truth of the matter. But I think in different radio stations, they also have these classes going on. In Cool, Wazobia FM, you listen to adverts asking children to tune to their stations at a particular time. If you don't have access to the internet, you should have access to the radio.
But there was a time that the government they were suggesting that if the schools are to reopen, that they are constantly segmenting their classes. some people will attend in the morning, some in the afternoon, and some in the evening. Do you think this is actually
It will be,
or this should be an alternative, for reopening the schools?
No. You see, the truth of the matter is that we should not be in a hurry to open the schools. If you alternate, it's not going to. We don't have that kind of orderly system of organizing things. You can't tell me that my children must come to school in the afternoon. I probably will not have the time to take him there. I'm at work. So how will he go to school in the afternoon? A child of 5 years, you have to take him to school in the afternoon. Their parents are at work. They don't have a housekeeper. So how will the children go? So it's going to be disorderly. So I think the most sensible thing for us to do is to ensure that the figures coming in from the NCDC gets lower than what we have now. Then put in place all these normal protocols of washing hands, using sanitizers, and the latest that I heard now is that even children below 6 are not supposed to use face masks. It's likely to affect their health, their hearts. So, in view of that, we have to be careful. Yes, because it is true that some of those children are going to do their exams. Yes, allow those ones to have their exams and go back to their different homes. Otherwise, we are toying with a dangerous thing.
Thank you very much for in the studio. Okay, we've had Mr. Aliyu Mohammed with us in the studio. That's the CEO of Magnet Communication, and he has analyzed some of the stories on the front pages of the newspaper with us in the studio today. And if you want to get more of these stories, of course, you can always visit us on our website, and that's www.vanguardngr.com, and you can always get more of these stories also on our social media platforms that are showing on your screen. And then also you can always follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channels to get some of our other shows and get more updates on all these things we are doing on this channel. Okay, stay with us, and that is all for today on Today in the News. But stay with us as we have other programs that are coming on. But for now on Today in the News, it's bye from me, Damola Mushaki.